Hey everybody, good to see you back once again. And it looks like it finally happened. I believe winter has set in, so that means we've transitioned back into the shop, kind of doing the hibernation shop project mode thing possibly for the next 5 months. That's all right because it gives me time finally to get back into the pin and bushing turn and the track chain build for the D2. That is all work that I had originally planned to have finished by, well, October. Didn't so much work out, and matter of fact, just a couple weeks ago I finally gave it up and I hauled the big track press into the shop. It's sitting out there right off the end of my finger. So anticipation of, well, the weather that you just saw arriving, and also it's already in the shop, so that means it's not going to be covered in snow and frozen in place probably until next May. Around the same time, I also hauled my home-built 30-ton shop press back here so that it too would be in place and ready to go. As I mentioned in, I think, Behind the Scenes 106 the other day, this time of year always feels like we've reached the end of a marathon because the last 4 to 6 weeks of every fall is usually a pretty hectic rat race, getting everything wrapped up and just stored away for possibly the next half of a year. So the goal of today's episode, though, is we are going to take this fully disassembled pile of track links, pins, and bushings, and we are going to do the first stage assembly and make that pile look like this pile. It's a lot of tedious and monotonous work, but we're basically going to make sure we have all the pins and bushings turned, positioned properly, pressed into the one link half so that we are ready to start building track chains after this stage right here. So let's get going on it. Okay, first thing I need to stress is how important it is to maintain organization when you're doing this type of work. You need to be thinking about not only the step that you're on, but the step that's coming next as well. So when we begin preloading pins and bushings into track links, we need to decide if we are going to preload everything into the right side link or everything into the left side link, because these are not the same. If you just randomly picked links and pins and bushings from this pile and then just press stuff together however you grabbed it, you're not going to end up with an even chain that you can feed through your track press in a smooth manner when it comes time to build all these links onto one another and then press the outer half track link back on to form the chain. If you had preloaded some right side links with pins and bushings and some left side links, you're going to be taking this out of your track press and flipping it all the time in order to press that second half outer link on. So you definitely want to do all your work in a consistent and even manner. So this is the very first link that I pressed anything into, and I keep it here as a guide. So I can take my next set of track links and I can compare and make sure that I'm pressing into the correct side link. We know that one doesn't match, so that means this one, yep, direct match to the first one. This is the one that we load everything into. And to help visualize this next part, I put some paint marks on each end of the bushing to represent where the wear actually happens. So the first point of wear we have is internal bushing to pin bore wear. So that's designated by this paint mark here that wraps around to this paint mark right here. And that was from that old track pin having pulled tension on the bushing in this direction for a long time. You also get external link wear that happens from this mark here all the way around to this mark right here. And you can see where on the outside you start to see a line forming right off the end of my thumb right there. And as you roll it around, it turns into a pretty good step shoulder, and you roll it further and then that wear line eventually disappears. That is from the counterbore area of the link ahead of this bushing having pulled on that area of the bushing in the past as well. The third spot that they wear, and you can see it pretty well, is external sprocket tooth contact wear. So it starts, that shiny line right off the end of my thumb right there, it starts there and it wears in on the outside of the bushing about to where it disappears right there. Maximum allowable wear on the outsides of these D2 bushings is 1/8 of an inch. We're barely half of that when you check it with a straight edge. So these bushings are still in pretty good shape. We just have to turn them properly to renew all of those surfaces. So this is how we were positioned originally. Internal pin wear to the back, external counterbore link wear to the front, and we have sprocket tooth contact wear facing up. We press the bushing out, we turn it 180 degrees, and we will be pressing it back in so that we roll that internal pin bore wear to the front so that we have a fresh surface at the back now for the pin. We've rolled that external link wear to the back So we have fresh surface at the front for the counter bore of the next link, and we've rotated that sprocket tooth contact wear around to the bottom so that our fresh surface is up on top. You just have to be careful that when you have pulled bushings out of a pile like that you get them flipped properly, all right? So if I was to flip this the wrong way around, all of our internal and external pin and link wear has been corrected, but we would still have that sprocket wear zone facing up and would still be engaging with the sprocket teeth. So we've corrected half of our wear, but we're still wearing on the other half. So you need to make sure it gets flipped properly and all that stuff lands where it needs to be. Now that we know how to orient bushing to link, we need to prep all the pieces for pressing back together. So I clean all the rust from the press fit areas of the bushing and the pin, as well as the bores and the link. Cordless drill with a small round brush for the pin bores, and I have a larger round brush for the bushing bores. And we need to also do one more thing to the bushing. So you can see where I've softened that square shouldered wear spot. You can see it better here where I haven't touched it yet. It's really sharp right there. You want to just bevel that and just take the edge off of it, because you can see the very first link that I pressed together, I did not do that. You can still see we have a pretty sharp step in place right there, intact. And because that's such a tight press fit, when that sharp edge came through the link bore, it actually peeled material right out of that opening. So that used to be link right there, and that's no good, because you want these to be an extremely tight fit, because they're going to have to stay in place. So Dremel tool with a round grinding stone in the end works really good just softening that and making it so it's not going to drag any material as it's being pushed on through. And going back to the practice link, the other thing I learned pushing this first bushing in, I just had a round sleeve under here, started forcing it on in, and as it gets further and further in, it starts banging and jumping and you lose controllability. You can see this one actually pressed through about a 1/16 of an inch too far. So I made some tools to help make that more of a controlled process. First thing is a receiving die. Okay, that's going to go on the bottom, and there's a pocket machined into the face of the die that matches how much distance the bushing is going to have to stick out past that bore. So this is A2 tool steel. I flame hardened it so that it would hold up better. So to start with, the bushing will bottom out in the recessed pocket area of that receiving die when it hits proper depth, but the link can still jump up further than you want it when it gives that last bang. So in conjunction with the receiving die, I turned out this heavy wall sleeve, which goes over the bushing and at proper installed height will match the length of the bushing that sticks out of the track link. Top it all off with the push plate that's on top of it all. Using those three pieces, you sandwich that link on the bushing with everything positioned at the proper depth. So controllability, that's what it's all about. It's kind of a violent process. Let's put it into practice. I use this Goodson Press Fit Lube PFL 200. Coat all of the surface areas with it. That will prevent galling and scoring when these components actually come together. Once everything's properly aligned, I'll just cinch it in the vise, and that just helps to keep it started in the link. Just a couple less pieces to have to keep lined up when you're setting it all up with the tools. So, receiving die, we have our heavy wall spacer that is going to go over the bushing, and we want to center the bushing on top of the die, and then the push plate goes on top. So we center it all beneath the arbor of the press cylinder, and we put some pressure on it. And yes, you just heard an electric Interpack 0 to 10,000 PSI pump used in conjunction with the OTC 30-ton cylinder ram. Fittings are all the same. They all work, and I've had this the whole time. I normally always use the hand pump. I know, like when I was busting these tracks apart with the large track press and 50-ton cylinder using the hand pump, there's a lot of allergies to manual labor in the comment section. Everybody was just saying, you got to get rid of that hand pump and get anything. Well, truth be told, I prefer the hand pump still over this because you can feel the load. You can feel how hard you're working. With this, well, you have the clicker, which is convenient because, well, I need to have one hand free to align everything, and then I need to have just the convenience of this remote just to use the other hand to get it all tensioned up and everything holds itself in place. But if it weren't for that, I'd still be using the hand pump over this. And first bushing I tried to press, I let the pressure get away from me with that electric one, and we blew up this press block frame from that cheap Harbor Freight 20-ton press there, because with the hand pump that never would have happened, because I would have just felt we were working way too hard and then would have slacked off before things got to the critical point and we had shrapnel flying. But I'll try and make friends with this yet, but I'm just a manual labor guy in an automated world. What can I say? Okay, let's press. And there's 15 tons. Pressure off so we can come around here and look at it. And this one didn't even pop and bang. Usually it's a lot more dramatic than that. But yeah, we're stacked up really well. So everything's home. Go ahead and take it out. I was hoping for the big bangs and pops and everything jumps, and it'll happen. We'll get it on camera yet. But yeah, you can see that seats that bushing just perfectly. We have just the right amount of protrusion out that far end, and everything's in and together. We just repeat that process over and over again until we've worked our way through the entire stack. All right, we've indexed the bushing. We have taken the sharp edge off of that wear shoulder. We've got the press fit lube applied, so we do it again. $15 tons. You guys must be good luck or something. It still didn't bang. I just did 36 of them, and each one of them banged and jumped and popped and did everything else. So should have turned the camera on sooner. There we go. That's more like it. Make a little bit of noise. Yeah, it looks like we're all the way down. That's another reason why I like this heavy wall pipe for like a sleeve, because bushings can fracture and send pieces flying, so that's going to offer containment, you know, just kind of helps to reduce the shrapnel factor by a bit. Okay, everybody, that was the last bushing, and you can tell this one looks a little bit different. That's because these are the Master Link bushings, and they are shorter than the standard ones. They're only flush with the outside of the track link, and I actually put some brand new ones in. This is for this batch right here, and the other new Master bushing is in this link right here, one per track. And the reason why I put new ones in, well, in all of my travels, I had run across 4 new old stock ones. Here's 2 of them right here, the V223s. Those are the only ones I've ever found. So 2 of them were going for $11.13, and the originals from those combine tracks were just shot. This one has worn loose for so long that it'll never be tight in a link again. And then this one also was just worn horribly. So these are scrap now, basically, and I still have 2 new old stockers to hold in reserve. So now it's time to press the track pins into the links, and these are a lot more straightforward than the bushings because you just identify where the wear marks are. You can see we have a shouldered wear spot right there, and then you turn it around and it disappears. So a lot of people have asked if I've marked these for orientation. No, because just looking at the wear on them, they're marked already. Okay, any marks I would have added would have just been on top of what's already there and probably would have been buffed off when I cleaned the rust anyhow. So the way these were originally positioned in the links, you would have had the bushing that attaches to them pulling in this direction. So all the wear would have accumulated toward the inside. So we need to find the wear and spin it so that it is positioned to the outside of the link. These are not sensitive as to which way you flip them like the bushing is with trying to renew that sprocket contact area. You just need to get these spun around, basically spun right. You're good to go. Same basic routine as with the bushings. We have the press fit lube applied to the surfaces. Just position the pin correctly in the link and start it in. These don't require as many special tools to get pressed in at proper depth because these pins press in at about 1/2 to 2/3 the tonnage that the bushings require. All right, I can tell by the gauge that we have bottomed out, but we're not all the way there yet. So right now the pin is flush with the outside of the link boss right there. We actually need that to stand just a little bit proud. So there is a special tool I made for that. It's really simple. It's just a 1-inch grade 8 flat washer that I welded a couple of tin guides onto, and it's just a backstop for that link boss. The hole in the center is the perfect size to allow that tapered end of the track pin just to start into without actually being able to pass through. It gives you the perfect amount of protrusion on that pin. The tin guides just surround the link body on the outside and in the web like that. They don't support anything. They just help me to get it centered up so that everything's where it needs to be. So we just take it the rest of the way. And that is perfect. And when we look at the witness marks from the wear on the inside, you can tell that pin is positioned at the same depth that it originally was before we rotated it. So that's all you have to do. Another thing I do regularly too is just check the fit. We've got a good start bushing and pin into opposing link. That just ensures everything's going together square like it should. Okay, everybody, pins and bushings have all been turned and all installed into the first link half. We have 30 links right here, 29 standards with one master link in the corner. And right here we have another 30, 29 standards with one master link in the corner right there. So these are what are going to build the new track chains for the D2 right there. Pretty happy with everything here. It all pressed together well, good tight fits on everything, and it's all been rotated where it needs to be. We have our spares over here. Remember, this was from that Vaughn Combine track kit that used those Caterpillar D2 parts. So I just went ahead and pressed together everything that I had cleaned up and was in good condition. We've got some spare links right here in case I ever need to extend any tracks, and the miscellaneous odds and ends and bits that are still good as well. Parts and pieces are going to be stored away in this box. So we're just about ready to find a home for those nice big 20-inch wide track pads on this D2. All of my tools performed well, no problems. We didn't blow up any more pieces in the press, so pretty happy with how the job turned out. I have some retooling to do on the big track press because that's what I'm going to build the chains with. I need to redo the supports and the pushing adapters to make it, you know, put chains back together because it's only set up to press chains apart right now. So that's going to be some thinking and some fabrication. We'll get it figured out. So thanks for watching, everybody. The fun's going to continue on here, and I hope to see you back again.